Welcome to the world of Rex. It's Marvel Rex. I am here today to be talking with you about the weekly energies for the week of February 12th to the 18th of 2024. We are knee deep in Aquarius season. What's going on with the weekly vibes? That's what we're going to find out today. It is a cooler week in some ways. There's a hot moment, but overall, the aspects are there's not a lot of aspects. We like this. Quiet skies, little bit of heat, but mostly quiet skies. Before we dive into what the stars have in store for you, you can support me as a content creator by sharing, rating, and subscribing to the podcast. That helps so much. You can check out the link in the show notes to see the newsletter. That is an amazing resource. It comes out weekly and it is done by my editor, Redika. She is my favorite. We love her. So shout out, helping it out. And there is always the opportunity to work with me one-on-one by getting a reading. You can get a 55-minute reading via Zoom, or you can do 20-minute audio recording readings with me. You can ask me anything, and we can look at it from a predictive astrology point of view, looking ahead, bending time using the knowledge of the stars. All right, that's what we got going on in terms of the notes at the top. Let's dive into what's going on. So Monday, this week starts out with some endings, a little bit of ending energy. We have Mars, the planet of assertion, libido, energy, going forth, making your mark. Mars is at the final degree of the sign of Capricorn. So he's finishing out his boss mode journey. Mars loves being in Capricorn. He is about to enter Aquarius on Tuesday. We're going to talk about this, which is not necessarily a sign that he doesn't like. So Mars is not falling from grace, but whatever you were trying to start in the first week of January, you should be seeing some kind of either resolution, some kind of ending, or you've made a few boss mode accomplishments, which would be like the best way that this energy would play out. So take note on February 12th, Monday, what were you trying to get going in the beginning of January? Have you made clear, tangible, and practical Capricornian steps? Have you taken steps to get this thing moving? Is it moving? How do you feel about it? Does it feel like you're in alignment with your overall desire for your career or your legacy, or just trying to achieve something? The moon is in Aries at the same exact time, listening to Mars. So Monday is it's a strong Monday, if you know what I mean. Like, this is very strong Monday energy of like, we are starting the work week off. We are working. Work, 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 work. Mars at a final degree is like, let's get it done. And Capricorn is like, we got to achieve. So there can be a strong pressure for folks collectively, and we may be feeling it in our bodies, to get something done or to push forward. Now, it's a tricky bag in the sense that I would say Mars and Capricorn, very good at getting things done. So if you do feel like you need to push yourself a little bit on this Monday, I would recommend it, but also be mindful of not doing the shadow of Aries, which is being forceful or overly assertive. So it is a fine line here that we're walking on Monday, but people can feel like they really need to finish something up on February 12th, February 13th. And, if you happen to be a Capricorn sun, moon, and rising, this can also just feel like you really need to change something about how you're living your life. And it can feel very pressurized, definitely for Capricorns. And the cardinal signs in general, Aries, Libra, and Cancer, you also may be having there can be some tension around really trying to finalize something, and just be mindful about how you're going about doing that. Generally, Mars and Capricorn is pretty steadied, so I'm not too worried about it overall for everybody. The moon is in Aries, so we need to be focusing at the top of the week about what we really need as an individual. What do we need? Getting in touch with that. Aries rules the head, so just really thinking about how you're showing your face, how you are feeling. Like, where do you feel like you're at the head of your life, like the top, right? Do you feel like you're being seen in group dynamics, in relationships? These are really good Aries questions. Like, do I feel like I'm in charge of my life, is a really strong Aries question to start Monday off with. That Mars and Capricorn is saying we need to take some final actions around some of our goals so that this thing can really get moving on into like a group setting. That's the Aquarius piece that we're about to enter. We are in Aquarius season, so there's still a massive emphasis on groups and networks and communities that we belong to and our friendships, as well as digital technology and how we utilize technology to feel connected to other people. So all of these questions are in the air. And Monday has, very succinctly, Monday has a strong signature of adrenaline because of Mars at a final degree. Mars is going to infuse our nervous systems with a little bit more energy because Mars is trying to get something done in Capricorn. He's like, we need to fix this. This is not working. Or it is working, but we really need to take it all the way across the finish line. So there can be a finalizing energy here. Again, definitely around career, public legacy, long-term goals and dreams that you have, depending on where the Capricorn part of your chart is. And with Moon in Aries, it needs to feel affirming to you, feeling like you're in the driver's seat of your life. Do you feel like you're in the driver's seat of your life? How can you take actions that make you feel more that way? That's Monday. Now, the hottest day of the week, this is pretty quiet skies though, okay? But like the hottest day amidst these quiet skies is Tuesday. Tuesday, February 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. I didn't even mention, but we'll get there. All right, we'll get to Valentine's Day. I have so much Aquarius. I'm like, everyone's a friend, even my lovers, right? It's like, why do we have to celebrate it one day a year? It's every day. But anyway, we'll get there. On Tuesday, it's the watch out day. This is like my like really be mindful of your energy on Tuesday. I wrote flamethrower energy. So a lot of flamethrower energy. We want to be very careful when you're holding a tool that blasts fire. And there can be some group tension as well as friendship tension on Tuesday. What happens is that Mars leaves Capricorn and enters Aquarius and immediately comes into Pluto's domain, right? Pluto's sitting there at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Pluto's been talking to everybody. Everybody's being transformed right now. The sun was transformed back in Capricorn season. Then we had Mercury meet Pluto last week. And then we had, maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Was it? No, it was last week. And then we have now Mars. Venus is right behind him. So she's going to meet Pluto as well. But Mars meets Pluto on Tuesday. And this is a different kind of meeting than the sun and Mercury. When the sun meets Pluto, it's like, okay, our overall identity and our overall career path and hero's journey is being, refreshed, transformed, I would say. And it can just be like, okay, we're entering a new paradigm. Mercury meeting Pluto is like, now we have to communicate differently now that we're in a new paradigm. Mars meeting Pluto, which happens today on Tuesday, February 13th, adjust for your time zones, is not the same. Mars does not like to really take the back seat in any situation, even no matter the sign that he's in. And he has to take the back seat with Pluto because Pluto's more powerful than him. No offense, Mars. Mars is like, how dare you? How dare you? So Mars has a strong ego and does not like to defer to the Lord of Death, but has to. So Mars enters Pluto's, like we can imagine, like enters the layer of hell, enters the underworld. And Mars is like a warrior down there that's like, I don't really want to be here. I just want to move through. Why do I have to enter this space with you, Pluto? And so there's a little bit of tension. Pluto's like, don't mess with me. And Mars is like, how dare you? So they're both hyper masculine planets. Mars is extremely masculine, and Pluto it does have a masculine connotation, but overall is even beyond that. It's almost a supernal energy. It is beyond gender, but is still very demanding in terms of how we need to change. Mars doesn't like to take orders. That's what we're coming up with against on Tuesday. This can play out in your life. The planets can personify. Truly, and I'm someone who watches it, I study it, the planets will personify. So maybe you are Mars on Tuesday and you enter a plutonic situation wherein you have to transform in order to join the group, in order to make the business agreement, in order to be in the relationship or the friendship. Or you may have to transform your relationship to technology. There is some tension here wherein the drive, Mars, the ability to do things, get things done, has to be really humble in the face of Pluto on Tuesday. So The way that it plays out, I mean, it's not so much of a fight in the sense that like nothing gets done. In fact, a lot can get done, but you have to be very careful because there can actually be an over ambitious, overly assertive lust for power with this transit. It's gonna tone the entire week. So Tuesday is the immediate portal opening, and then we're gonna feel this energy for a solid week. And it can manifest in ways that can be really selfish, can be ruthless, can be even violent. So we have to be very careful with Mars and Pluto. Pluto sort of gives Mars some power and says, are you going to be responsible with this? Like, thank you for coming down into the underworld. Will you be responsible with this amount of energy and power that I'm giving you? And Mars in Aquarius, it is a little bit more group minded, so I'm feeling slightly optimistic because maybe it's like, how can we empower the group? But if you start to focus this energy in on your ego storyline and say, oh, I've got all this power, I'm going to do all this stuff, watch me roar, it can go off the rails. So we have to be very careful. And one word that I always associate with Pluto is control. And when Mars comes in and activates Pluto slash Pluto transforms Mars, the wonderful thing to do on Tuesday is to ask yourself, what is my relationship to control? Do I feel like I have a conscious and alert and intentional relationship to control, i.e., I know what I can control in my life and I know what I cannot control in my life, right? It's the serenity prayer, like I control what I can, or I don't, let me pull up the serenity prayer so that people don't roll their eyes at me because but I know what it is. Let's say it exactly. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? So it's about control. It's about knowing what you can control and what you can't, and then letting whatever you cannot control go. The wisdom of knowing the difference can be accessible to us on Tuesday because of Pluto. Pluto enlightens, even though it's usually a painful enlightenment or an exposing enlightenment. Pluto says, hey, Mars, you can do this better. And Mars is like, I can. I'm glad I came down here, even though I'm a little pissed that you're telling me what to do. I can do it differently. And it has to be from a space of consciousness. That's the alchemical power of Pluto is I'm using this for the good of the group because it's Aquarius. Aquarius is the group, the good of the group, the good of the community, for the world. There's a global perspective with Aquarius. So if you're trying to move this week from a place of just soul ego perspective, it's going to be very, very challenging. I would say that because the moon is still in Aries on Tuesday, the temptation to be self-focused is like a 10.5 right now. So knowing that, right, we listen to the astrology, we learn the astrology as a spiritual technology to prepare us for this energy. So Monday, Tuesday has a little bit of like steroidal, I'm going to burn the bridge down even though I'm standing on it energy, just from the fact that Pluto and Mars are coming together. They're both bad boys, they're both malefics, they have like a really kind of intense, over the top quality, and when they're together, there can be outbursts, there can be reactionary behavior. And so knowing that is a way to then be spiritual mastery and but like the mastery of your embodiment is so helpful here. It's like Jedi mind tricks, really being like, okay, there's a lot of intense energy Monday, Tuesday, really the whole week. I mean, quiet skies, like not a lot of planetary action, but knowing that there can be an underlying Plutonian intensity, and knowing that February is part of this Aquarius season where we're all transforming because of Pluto. How can you be a Jedi? How can you take all this incredible drive and be strategic, goal-oriented, group-oriented, community and friendship-oriented without burning your life down? So I would say if you have a strong desire to try to control something this week, slow down, take a pause. I would give yourself another week before you act on it. I would really take a whole week and be like, you know what? Do I got to do this right now? That's a wonderful question. Does this have to happen right now? Especially Monday, Tuesday. People will be focused on themselves. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, you want to make sure that you're not burning down friendships because you want to fulfill your own needs. There is a way to do that that is boundaried, respectful, and communicated in a direct and transparent way. So we want to channel that. If there are people around you with this energy, especially people who don't listen to astrology, don't care, who are acting really hyper masculine or acting really intense, just like there's an intensity, maybe you can feel some control stuff happening, I would just recommend being very clear about boundaries right at the top of the week and being like, I'll talk to you next week. Or like, I'm really busy this week. I'll talk to you when. And then just set a date, set a boundary. I'm going to say it one more time. Avoid hastiness, uh, any kind of reactive behavior you want to watch Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday. Here's the final little note that's so nice. It says, you can make a big impression and succeed by using your power and influence wisely, right? This is the Jedi mind tricks. There's so much power with Pluto and Mars. Like, it is really like Pluto gives his power to the warrior this week. But I said this a few episodes back. It's like if the warrior has no ethics or no self control, the warrior becomes an assassin and it just kills things. And we don't, there are some things that do need to die this Aquarius season, but I want you to feel empowered in the grieving and empowered in your clarity over what needs to die. Like, oh, I'm clear that that needs to go, not oh, I'm really reactive and now I'm killing this thing, right? There's a super big difference between those two. So, Jedi mind tricks. Now we have, a lot of friendship aspects here, but we do have Valentine's Day on Wednesday, February 14th. I'm looking at the chart right now. It's always funny to me. Mercury's at a world point, so it makes me think that we're going to hear a lot of celebrity news. There could be a lot of celebrity gossip around love, romance, stuff like that. Of course, it's Valentine's Day. There may also just be really big geopolitical news that's kind of a downer on Valentine's Day. I'm not going to lie. Like, you're like, oh, I'm trying to have a day of love, and this news event is happening. So some big news stuff, very possible with Mercury at a world point in Aquarius. Mars is still very close to Pluto. There can be violence with this aspect on a geopolitical level. Just putting it out there. I know I'm not being, you're like, Marvel, you are not being sexy right now for Valentine's Day. Look, I'll say something. Don't come to an astrologer for Valentine's Day. I mean, come to us for love readings any day of the week. By the way, if you are an Aquarius, sun or rising, you get 25% off right now. This is a great time to do a love reading if you want to, Aquarius. Uh, but it's not, it's not the sexiest time of the year. Aquarius season is friendships, global networks, and using technology to feel connected. It's not so much the like, I'm finding the love of my life. That's why I find Valentine's Day very funny. It's very performative to me because I'm like, are we really doing the heart based Leo thing? I don't know. But I'm looking at the chart and we have a few things that are kind of interesting. The sun and Mercury are in a loose square to Uranus and Taurus, and the moon is in Taurus on Valentine's Day. I like the moon in Taurus on Valentine's Day. I don't love the square to Uranus from the sun and Mercury. What this could look like is that people may be going on first dates. That's classic first date. Uranus is a surprise. Sun and Mercury in Aquarius is like being set up on a date or meeting someone for the first time. When you go on a first date, you're not like, this is the love of my life. You're like, I am meeting a brand new person. This is an acquaintance that may become something more, but right now I'm literally becoming acquainted, which is very Aquarian. And with the square, it's like, I think a lot of people might go on dates that go a little sideways, and or they're like, whoa, this is maybe not love, but a friendship. It could just have an element where you have an expectation and it goes a totally different way. Uranus is a surprise. So, and there's with Taurus, I have to say, Taurus is very sexual and sensual and physical. So, people may be engaging in those things, in sexuality or physical behaviors with each other. But there's something about it that's either surprising, weird, a little bit of catfishing kind of an energy here. I'm not going to lie. And or could be a one night stand. It's very one night stand kind of energy here. So I would temper. I'm looking at this chart and I'm like, this is not the chart that I would choose to be like, sexy. Like Venus is in Capricorn. Venus, I love Venus in Capricorn for like work stuff. I do not love Venus in Capricorn for like sexy time stuff. Okay. So I'm not in love with this chart in terms of like meeting the love of your life. Look, no planet is retrograde right now, so there's a lot of forward momentum, which means like things can definitely have longevity. Do I think this is the softest, sexiest landing or the softest, sexiest first meeting of a person? No. I think it's a little bit like, whoa. Some folks may have sparks fly, but I still think there's some surprises. And maybe being open, that would be a wonderful way to set expectations for Valentine's Day. Being open to things that are not normally your cup of tea. Or being open to just how things unfold and not trying to hyper control, which is what we just talked about, not trying to hyper control the situation. I would also be careful because Mars and Pluto are so close to each other. I have to say it. You want to be really mindful about your boundaries, really, truly, because there could be, the moon is going to square Mars and Pluto here. I have to make that sound. There's going to be a square from Mars and Pluto to the moon in Taurus, and people they can be triggered. There can be literally like you're on a first date and someone says something, they don't even know that they're triggering you, and you get really triggered. Or you go out, maybe you're going out to Valentine's with a person you've been with for a long time, but it feels a little triggery, it feels a little raw. Mars and Pluto in a square to the moon doesn't like to interact with either of them. She really doesn't. She does not like to be near either of them. So the fact that they're squaring her, a square is a tense, action oriented angle. It has a lot to do with people being sloppy, people being a little messy, and it hurts. There can be pain associated here. I know that Valentine's Day can be a really loaded day for a lot of people. And so that's present in this chart. I would say the way to ameliorate it is to first thing, have boundaries. Have boundaries. I also would not let your guard down and not get inebriated with people that you do not know on this day. Not gonna lie. Because Mars and Pluto, up to no good. Up to no good. When you're around alcohol and drugs or any kind of unconscious behaviors, this is very dangerous. So I'm just going to say it, put it out there. I have to. It's part of my duty. And then the way to ameliorate this energy is to do the Taurus thing, which is have a very strong sense of where your boundaries are, where your body begins and where another person's body begins, and the distinction there, and making sure that you're doing things that feel physically loving to you. So if the sexuality feels really good, by all means, dive in. If it does not feel good, do not do it. That is the way to honor Taurus moon, is like, I do not want that, and I am not going to do that. And then also, if you do not have a romantic experience on this day, which you do, by the way, if I want to honor people who are like, I am not going on a date, I am not doing Valentine's Day, you are you are more aligned with the energy astrologically than people who are trying to do romantic stuff this day. It's Aquarius season. This is not a romantic time. This is like romance. You can have friend romances, like you can have like non-sexual or maybe even like sexual friendships, but like it's very friendship oriented. It's not monogamy, we're doing this thing, we're committing to each other for life, partner kind of stuff. This is like friendship zone in a lot of ways. So if you're not doing anything romantic, Netflix and chill with yourself or with your bestie. Like have a friend Valentine's Day. That's wonderful. Like indulge with Taurus moon. It's like indulge in good food. Maybe go out on a date with your girlfriends or your boyfriends. Like go on a fun evening out where you enjoy good food, go to a movie, Netflix and chill, maybe do a spa day at home. These are wonderful ways to work with the moon in Taurus. Feed, like honor and worship and feed the body that is like a temple. It's very, your body's a temple energy. And there's a lot of weird kind of, the energy feels a little bit chaotic with Uranus there. So I would be careful about taking a bunch of risks on this day, especially if you're expecting love, if you're expecting romance. There is no Leo up in this sky right now. Like Venus is in Capricorn. Like nothing about this is super lubricated to me personally. The most lubricated part is the moon and Jupiter, and it's very self-focused. It's not relying on other people to worship your temple, worship your body. You could engage with another person in that way, but still you have to be coming from a place of like, I know this makes me feel good and I'm doing it and I'm not going to take a bunch of risks today. This is my overall 2 cents on Valentine's Day 2024. Not the sexiest thing, but it's okay. All right, so that's Valentine's Day. I hope that was helpful. There's still, by Thursday, the next day following, the moon is going to be on top of Uranus. There could have been some weird stuff that happened on Wednesday and you're like still processing it on Thursday. That's why I'm like, go slow on Valentine's Day, big time. Then we have, following Mars, we have Venus at the anaretic degree on Thursday. She's at the final degree of Capricorn and she's basically saying, are we seeing some of the fruits of our labors from all that Mars hustling? Like I would look back at January and be like, what have I accomplished since January? And pat yourself on the back. Can I tell you something that Capricorn does not do most of the time? Capricorns do not pat themselves on the back. They don't celebrate. They just keep going. They keep checking goals off and then they're like, why am I so tired? It's like you didn't stop to celebrate how awesome you are, Capricorn. So, especially my Capricorns listening, please pat yourself on the back for what you've accomplished. I would say in the last 16 years since Pluto's left your sign, and in the last month, what have you accomplished? You should be seeing the fruits of your labors during this period of time. You should be seeing that there's some kind of goal you've reached, and Venus is loving it. She's so Mars is like the hustle and the grind, and Venus is like, and here's the like paycheck, or here's the lovely note that somebody sent you because they thought that you did such a good job at that presentation, or you go on a lovely outing with friends because you can finally celebrate because you're done with your work project. So there's some kind of celebratory energy on Thursday that's not as harsh as Valentine's Day. Still not like the sexiest sky, but a little bit more supportive. However, she's getting very close to Pluto. Venus is about to, on the next day, Friday. On Friday, Venus conjoins Pluto. So both the lovers, Mars and Venus, talk to Pluto this week. This week is, although there's not a ton of aspects, this week is really big in terms of transformation of how we do things, our physical action, Mars, the way we're choosing to live our lives, taking action, our behaviors and habits are transforming, especially in regards to the groups that we're part of. And Venus comes in on Friday and says, our relationships are transforming. Maybe our money story is transforming right now. Our ability to feel loved and lubricated in our lives. By lubricated, I mean like flow, ease. Are you feeling ease in your life? With Aquarius and Pluto, it's not easy. When Pluto and Venus come together, Venus has to go down into the underworld to talk to him, just like Mars did. She's much nicer than Mars, so she's not like, why'd you put me down here? She's like, ooh, I don't like being down here with you, but what do you want? And he's like, I need you to transform your relationship to Aquarius themes, power and control around friendships, groups, networks, technology, interconnectedness through all those things. So there's a strong desire to transform the money story and the relationships and love stories, even the women in our lives. Venus rules the women in our lives, or femmes, in regards to, again, all those things, tech, communities, groups. There can be power and control issues that spring up like clockwork, especially if you are a Libra or a Taurus, all right? Because Venus is your ruling planet. I should also say, I'll circle back to Tuesday for the Aries and Scorpios. When Mars talks to Pluto on Tuesday, Aries and Scorpios, please watch out. Just like make sure that you are keeping your cool. Jedi mind tricks, okay? It can feel a little intense because you're ruled by Mars. Pluto is asking us all to change this week in a very big way in terms of how we love Venus and how we do things, Mars. So taking some time to journal and reflect, or just go on a walk and think about how are my closest relationships transforming. With Valentine's Day being just 2 days prior to Venus conjoining Pluto, you may be like, wow, I'm closing a chapter. Like maybe Wednesday was messy and then Friday comes around and Venus and Pluto conjoin and you're like, that was so messy and I don't want to do it anymore like that. It can be a little bit of a wake-up call with Pluto, right? He exposes things. He like shines a flashlight on the shadow that we need to integrate. The parts of ourselves that are blocked, we have to integrate them. So folks can be having romantic realizations at this time, relational or even friendship. With Aquarius, it could be like, I went on a friend group Valentine's and something weird happened and now I'm really considering or reconsidering a change in the friendship, the dynamic may have to change big time. It should be towards you feeling like you can be a weird a weird version of yourself, like the true version of yourself. I use the word weird because Aquarius is associated with weirdos and outcasts. And so a way to put this is, where is the outcast in you that you keep rejecting? How can you call that person in and say, hey, that part of me that I think is too weird for the group, for my friends, for my lover, for the Valentine's date I just had, I'm calling that person in. I want to actually make friends with that outcast part of myself that I'm rejecting. So that's some big medicine with Venus and Pluto conjoining, is like, I actually am going to accept that weird part of myself, or I need to begin the process of accepting that weird person that's in me. This can help make you feel a lot more empowered. It will then align you with the groups of people, Aquarius groups, the groups of people that you need to be in alignment with. So it'll bring you into community the more that you're like, I'm letting that freak flag fly. I'm doing it. And maybe it was because it got a little startled on Wednesday with that weird Valentine's Day. Not a bad Valentine's Day. I don't want to make anyone depressed here, but it's just, there's, a little bit of Uranian energy, which means like surprises. It's a little bit of a Pandora's box, like good luck. And then the rest of the week is, it's interesting. I mean, the moon in Gemini is going to trine and make a positive flowing aspect to Venus and Pluto. And so I do think that there's some positive conversations that can come out of this week, right? So Aquarius season, the whole Aquarius season, and I would actually argue from like January 15th all the way until late February, the end of February. Actually, no, the end of February. So like January 15th to the end of February, we need to be thinking about, we're in the cauldron of transformation. So we need to be thinking about the ways in which we need to change. We need to die to wake up. Like, that is Pluto's game. And he is talking to everybody during this period of time. I mean, all the personal planets, right? Mercury, Venus, and Mars. He doesn't talk to Jupiter. Well, he talks to Jupiter in a square. So yeah, he's talking to everybody. Pluto's like, I got everybody. And the sun and the moon have had to talk to him. So everyone has gone into the Lord of the Underworld's domain. Like, they've gone into Hades, to Hades' realm, hell. So the fact that, and we use the word hell, astrology uses like the hell realm, and it's not all fire and pain, but it is looking at the parts of yourself that need to be integrated. So it doesn't have to be dramatic, but it will be deep. It will be felt very deeply in the body. So you just want to look at where you maybe have been hiding from yourself, maybe in your friend groups, or your friends are mirrors. They're reflecting to you where you're like not wanting to do the work to look at yourself and integrate. And with the squares to Taurus ruling our physical body, there's just a strong call to feel the pain inside the body. That's what Pluto wants. He's like, feel the pain of the block or the shadow realm that's inside your body that you don't want to feel, because if you felt it, it would hurt. But once you go through the pain, you're not going to feel that stuck energy anymore that traps you, and creates friendships that are out of alignment, or creates romantic situations that are out of alignment. And opens up your money path. Like, money and self-worth are so deeply tied in. Like, the more you do shadow work, the more money comes to you, because it's energy. You're literally open and more available for more energy, aka more wealth. So all of this is tied in with this whole month and a half long period, January 15th to the end of February. Pluto is like running the show. Venus is technically like running the show, but she had to pass through Pluto's domain. So everyone's going into the Lord of Underworld's, they're going into his crib. They're like down there and they're like, it's dark and dank. And he's like, I can see perfectly fine down here. Thank you very much. And everyone's having to adjust their eyesight. And that's what we're doing right now. We're adjusting our eyesight. We're like, oh, that part of myself. Okay, yeah, I can see it now. And I'm feeling some stuff inside my body because of it. And that's good. Just root into the body. That's really the medicine for the first half of the year with the Taurus, is just like root into the body. There's miracles there by feeling that. So yeah, Saturday, Sunday, moon in Gemini, lots of conversations, lots of talky, but it does look like you're having breakthroughs because you did adjust your eyesight in the dark. You saw some things, you figured out, okay, that's some new information. Could be reflected through the friendships or networks or digital technology / social media. I would be mindful this week not to be too experimental with the social media. Like, I would slow it down with communications, but still positive. So yeah, that's what I see. Anything else that I want to say before we sign off? I'm feeling good about it. That's the week ahead, y'all. If you need more guidance and want to work one on one with me, you always can. The link is in the show notes. I give very specified ways for you to heal, I give practical and embodied ways for you to heal. And I'm willing to go into any topic with you. There is no topic that I am afraid of, truly. I have a very strong Pluto in my chart. I can handle all of the taboo natures, the taboo nature of our being. So I'm here for that. And good luck. You've got it this week. I love each and every one of you. I truly do. And I will talk to you next week on the World of Rex. Until then, take care.